In preparing for this evening, I just kind of realized that you guys are going to get to know me pretty well. And it's a little intimidating, because I'm not exactly going to share the nicer parts. That wouldn't take very long. And so I'm going to start by sharing what our team's going to share in the next couple weeks, and we're going to call it Snapshots, just a little glimpse into our lives and to help create connection points with you guys. And my little snapshot comes from freshman year, and it's something that's been hugely formational in just my time at Biola. And it's something I try to not let it define me, but it's difficult. It's not easy, and you'll see why. And to make a not really, but somewhat long story short, and to cut to the chase, freshman year, my dad passed away really suddenly. He wasn't unhealthy by any means. He had just turned 50. And then it was just one of those deals where he went to bed, and that night, God called his number, and that was it. It was 4 weeks into spring semester, so the second half of freshman year. And I was just here. I'd come off interterm. I was in awesome classes. I was just living it up. And then one morning, leap day actually, believe it or not, I got a call from my mom, like 5 a.m, and she had the news. And obviously, sudden deaths in a family are never easy, but being a student here at Biola, going through that had its own unique set of challenges. One of them being that I'm a pretty quiet guy. I've always been really shy, and doing something like this actually is pretty easy for me, because I don't have to talk with people. You just have to listen to me. That's a lot easier. So I've always been quiet, but when this happened, it just pushed me even farther. I felt like I was kind of like robbed of the ability to connect with people. I'd go up and I'd be face to face with them. I was like, what am I supposed to say? I forget how to interact with people. I feel like whatever we're talking about, somehow I could relate it back to my dad. I didn't want to do that to people, put that burden on them. And it's not easy being a college student, because all kinds of people, older people, our peers, told us, hey, these years are so unique. You need to live it up and meet all kinds of people. And so I'd hear that and be like, great, where does that leave me? I didn't want to do that before, and now I really don't want to do that. And so I guess I'm just not going to be a very good college student. A second kind of difficulty, which is similar, is this feeling of isolation. Because Biola is a very uplifting place, which is a good thing. We're Christians. We have a lot to be happy about and excited. But for people who are going through difficult seasons, it's isolating. And I really just kind of got slapped with that right off the bat. My dad's service was on a Friday, about 2 weeks after he had passed away. And then I stayed home for that weekend, but came home Sunday. And that week was missions conference. And so I thought, all right, that's good. I can kind of get eased back into living at Biola, but I had it dead wrong, because I was a student who was coming back in the middle of grief and sorrow, and I came to campus that was in the throes of celebration. And it was okay to celebrate. It was missions conference, but man, that was one of the worst kind of times in the past year and a half or so. Just that extreme difference of where everyone else is and then where I was. To have people celebrating that as missions conference, celebrating us halfway through the year that God might do a revival now. And then there I was. And it's not missions conference fault. Please don't get me wrong. It's just a case of poor timing. But that's still the impression that I have of it. It was that strong. And kind of the last difficulty is that when classes would get rough, and just in general, I would have this new thought after my dad passed away, where I would think about quitting, about leaving Biola and just throwing in the towel. The thing is, I could kind of dress it up and make it seem okay, like, oh, I'm going to go home and be closer to my mom, and then help take care of her and go to a cheaper college. Especially after I switched out of Bible into sociology, I thought, why am I here? I could study this anywhere. And to be really honest, if it wasn't for being hired to work with After Dark, there's a really good chance I wouldn't have come back. By the time I was hired, I had kind of or after I'd gotten hired, I got to this point where I don't want to come back. I've had enough. This is too much for me. But by then, I was stuck. I was stuck in a good place. Biola was a good place, but I was still stuck, and that's not a good feeling. And so I was thinking through kind of the experience, the process as a student, and I thought, all right, well, what I have to share so far is really negative. So, okay, well, try to think of something positive that you can end on, so you're not such a downer. And so I started to think through, and I came up with nothing. And then I realized the only reason why I'm doing this, trying to think of something positive, is because I was scared. I was scared of what you would think of me. I was scared that you guys would look at me and say, hey, that kid's just not thankful. He's just, he's choosing to ignore the good things, because it's not like nothing good has happened since then. And you know what, you guys would be right. There have been really good things happening to me since Dad passed away, but those aren't the things that I connect with on a daily basis. Those aren't the things that are in my mind all the time. Those aren't the things that greet me in the morning when I wake up. It's the sad things, and it's the difficult things. And I need people who can remind me of the positive things, but there's tension. And don't think that I don't like you if you're like that. I need people like you. I need to see you. I need to see that kind of joy is possible. But I realize I can't be concerned with whether or not you like me or agree with kind of where I am, because there are students that are in the same place as me where it's crap through and through for them, and they don't connect with the good things. And my concern is making sure that students like that, you're not alone. It feels like it, I know, but you're not. It's not easy to be here, and so I have a special place in my heart for students like that, and I want to make sure that you know that you're not alone. There's other people like you. And there's something comforting about that. So that's it. That's my snapshot. You'll come back, because each of us are going to do this, and you don't want to miss it. The staff is awesome. And I was trying to think of a way to be really smooth about transitioning into the snapshot into the message. But I came up with nothing. So I thought, well, if I can't be smooth, I might as well be really upfront. So here we go, guys. We're transitioning from a snapshot into the message. I hope that suffices for you guys. All right, so the goal of tonight's message, the heart behind this evening, it's simple. We want to give you guys a vision of God's heart, and then we want to extend an invitation to draw near to Jesus. And then the verse we're going to camp out in is, it'll be up on the screen. You guys know it. It's Matthew 11, 28 through 30. And I'm going to read it real quick, though. This is Jesus speaking. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." This verse and we've had a interesting history, you could say. The first time I remember seeing it was my freshman year of high school. I was a TA for a teacher, and on his desk that I worked at, he had this little almost business card, and this picture of a kitten, and then this verse. I thought, well, that's the first time I read it, and Pat was like, that's really awesome. The verse, not the kitten. I'm a dog person. But so I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then fast forward to freshman year here at Biola, I started doing something called spiritual direction up in ISF. Highly recommend it. And in my first session, I had no idea what to expect, but I go in there, and my spiritual director, his name is Mark, and he said, all right, I'm just going to open up reading a passage that was just kind of on my heart, and we'll see where you go from there. And he read that passage, and then I was super excited, just kind of springboarded into this awesome time where it was the first time I was meeting him, but I was able to just share with him about my first semester at college, and it seemed really perfect. 2 weeks after that, I was back in spiritual direction, and I was telling him about my dad's funeral. And that verse and everything that it meant to me had been blown out of the water. That verse, it taunted me. I didn't get it. I can't say what really came to mind, but basically see people reading that verse or be in a chapel, and I think, what a load of crap. Are you kidding me? And in fact, when I got hired for Afterlife, I thought, okay, we need to have a chapel on this verse because I don't get it and I need help. And God, in his sense of humor, gave us that chapel. It's this one, and it didn't work out like I had planned it to be. That word rest, it's an interesting word. I looked up the definitions, and one that really popped out was this. It says, rest is freedom from that which worries or disturbs. How'd that sound? And so I went back and preparing, I read the verse again, switching out that definition. And it says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you freedom from that which worries or disturbs. And the first time I did that, without even trying, just my reaction was to kind of tense up. And I thought, God, you are what worries me. God, you're what disturbs me. I want a break from you and this nonsense that Christianity sometimes seems like to me. God, I want a break. I want freedom from you. That was just there. And my heart of hearts, that was my instant reaction. And I'm just curious. Am I alone in that? And I would wonder if there's anyone like bold enough, if you can either identify that now or maybe in the past you feel like that. I'd really appreciate if you could just slip up your hand real quick so I can see. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope you saw that you're not alone in that either. Like I said before, there's something encouraging about that. But on a more personal level, I just want to say to those people, whether you raise your hand or not, I'm so sorry, because I know what it's like. I know the frustration that this verse can bring when people just whip it out. I know that frustration gives way into just anger, and it just becomes this barrier between you and the Lord. And then after a while, when you're just tired of being angry, you just start to be sad. And that's the worst part. And so I'm sorry if that's where you are. Tonight's for you. Hopefully we can take at least just a small step toward renewing ourselves and changing that and redeeming that verse and taking it back. Well, I know that part of my problem with this wanting rest from the Lord is I kind of have a warped view of God. My view of God is pretty clear in my mind. I think of kind of like those images of Roman or Greek gods, like Zeus, where he's just like old but strangely ripped, and he's got like this, this long beard. And then my picture is just him looking kind of angry, because that's how they usually look in the pictures, and he's holding like the scroll, and it's all the way down to the ground. And on that scroll you have the things that Christians are supposed to do, the principles by which they're supposed to live. And so you got basic things on there like read your Bible, pray, go to church, kind of easy things. But then it just begins to like mount up. And even the easy things are like, okay, well, this is kind of a lot to keep track of. And then you kind of get into like this new category of just ones you bump up against to every day and just aren't easy. And so like kind of, and it'll look different for you, but for like my category involve things like pride and apathy and murder. Just kidding. But you get the idea. And if you want to go like even farther down the list, you got ones that like just don't even make sense. Like walk in the Spirit. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. And it's just be joyful all the time. I'm sure you can imagine that people are going through grief. That's the last thing that they want to see on the verse, but there it is, just staring them dead in the face. That's why I want freedom from God. That's why he disturbs me. That's why he worries me. I look at Jesus and the Gospels, and I see the way he interacts with his disciples. And I'm probably just reading it wrong, but he comes off as kind of a jerk sometimes. I think I had that same question. Why are you like getting so down on him? or even the Pharisees. Coming to Biola has helped me appreciate how much I identify with them, and I see how stern Jesus is with them, and I think, oh man, Jesus probably doesn't like me very much. He's heavy-handed toward people like me, people that use religion for their own gain. And he scared me, and I thought, God, I see that list of things, but I can't do that. I can't even scratch the surface. And so that's something that's plagued me for a while now. And the only reason it hasn't really gotten out of hand was this one message I heard my senior year of high school at my church. That just is something I can kind of hang on to when it really got rough. And it was actually a message about tithing, of all things, about giving to the church. But it was much different than what you'd expect. The pastor, he laid it out like this. He said, tithing, it's not some sort of spiritual tax that God puts on us. And God doesn't need our money. I mean, he owns it all. I mean, by definition, God doesn't need our money. God gives us the tithing. He asks us to give 10% off the top because he knows how good it is for us. He said tithing isn't something that God wants from us. It's something that God wants for us. It's even a gift, you could call it. And it's because God knows that, in our heart we have a throne, and that throne belongs to God. But all kinds of things compete for it, and Jesus knows that at the top of that list of competitors is money, it's stuff, it's possessions. And so the Lord built into, hopefully, what we'd model a lifestyle after was a lifestyle of generosity, one that wasn't controlled by money. It could help dethrone money from our lives. That's what the tithe was for. And the truth is, you can insert any command off that list for the tithe. God doesn't want, Sabbathing, doesn't want us to kind of take the day off for his benefit. That's for ours. It helps us trust him. It helps us get renewal. God doesn't want purity from us because he's heavy-handed and wants to kill our joy. He knows how healthy it is from us. He wants honesty, integrity, loyalty, humility. Anything you put in there, it works. And the premise is that these things, this lifestyle, that list, those things are his design, not ours, but it's for our benefit and not his. And just having that bit of truth through past senior, so 3 years, that's really kept me from just really going kind of off the deep end of being really frustrated at God. Because I could always go back to that when I felt like I was at the end of myself. I thought, no. I know better than that. I know God's heart is for me, and it's not some heavy hand or fist just beating me down. God doesn't have his foot on my throat, even though I tend to convince myself that that's what it's like. I forgot to mention on my list, coming to Biola, you kind of get your own little addendum to that list, don't you? You can kind of imagine what's on there. I have to be careful what I say here because my boss is here tonight. So, but on that list, you have 30 chapels? I can kind of seem like a burden sometimes. You've got contract, got all the classes. Like I said, missions conference, its intentions are so good, but sometimes it can make you feel guilty at the end of it, like you're not doing enough. Big one is, hey, are you guys going to church? Because if you're not, then you're not doing things right. And I kind of take that one even farther, where we say, hey, if you're not attending church weekly, then that's bad. But even if you are going weekly, you got to serve there. And as soon as I pull that one out, I'm like, screw it. That's too much for me. Don't ask me to do that. I'm already serving. I already have all this work on my plate. Don't ask me to do more. So Biola's got its own little addendum to that list. But something I want to share with you, and no, not everyone's going to like it. But what if I told you that Biola's heart, for those things, is modeled after God's heart? Same way that God doesn't demand our money because he needs it. He demands our money, or not even demands. He invites us to give it to him because he knows how healthy it is for us, how it will bring us closer. In the same way, when Biola asks us to go to chapels, and I know you're here, so preaching to the choir thing, but even with contract or even when you get large assignments, those things, they're not your design. You wouldn't choose them naturally. They're designed by Biola and its staff, but truly they're meant for your benefit and not Biola's. I know it's probably not a popular thing to say, but it's worth mentioning, okay? And please listen to this next part. If you leave here and someone asks you what After Dark was about, and you say, well, this guy who happens to work for chapel encouraged us to go to chapel, follow the rules, and do all these things, and do it with a smile on your face because it's for your good. If that's the takeaway, then guys, I'm serious. I let you down tonight. It was a swing and a miss because tonight it's supposed to be about so much more than that. What the staff trusted me to share was not something, it wasn't to tell you what to do, it was to show you a picture of God's heart. We don't want to change your actions. We want to help you to see the character of God. We want you to see that the same God who gave us tithing and the 10 Commandments and this guidelines of the Christian life, the same God that brought us here to Biola and was present in the policies of form, that's the same God that gave us his son. That same heart that says, okay, I'm for my people. I'm not a heavy-handed ruler. I want these things for them. He already gave his son for us. And we want you to see those two things together. The same God that gives us these expectations has already given us his son, and it was out of the same heart. And if you can keep those together, hopefully we hope that life doesn't seem as much of a burden. So there's the insight. That's the heart of God. He has these things that it's not our design, it's his, but it's for our benefit, not his. But if you're here last week, Chad Miller said something really, really important. He said, insight alone is way overrated. It doesn't have the ability to save us or anchor us. If it's just, he used the phrase, if it just hangs there like in time, it's really not good for much. And so we need something else. We need the next step. We need to find a way to take this insight and incorporate it into our lives. And so I thought, okay, well, what's next, God? I've got the insight, but what's the next step? What's practical? And then I realized it's staring me in the face. It says, come to me. That's it right there. It says just invite students to draw near to me. So that's the invitation tonight. Is to come to Jesus. And if you know me, then you know that it's not like me at all to say something like that. When I hear a speaker say, come to Jesus, he's your friend, I think that's kind of weird. Why don't you give me something more like substance? What does that actually look like? It seems just kind of like really airy to me. It's like super spiritual sounding, but how does that actually help me in day-to-day life? So I try to sit down and think, okay, what does it look like? And I even started to study for selfish reasons. I wanted to be able to dress it up and explain it. I wanted to sound smart. And so I found myself studying for you, but also studying for me, for those pats on the back at the end of tonight saying, oh, you did such a good job. That was really good. I started to go after those. So I had a lot of reasons to come up with something to explain this to you. But every time I got there, I was running to a brick wall. And then eventually, it's about 2 or 3 days ago, I just had enough. And it was like God speaking and said, Steve, you need to stop it, man. That's enough. He said, Steve, you're not going to be able to get any credit for this one. Because this process isn't something that you're going to be able to teach them or explain, dissect. This is a marvelous mystery that happens between myself and my children. And you're not welcome there. That's for me and my kids. So, okay, God, I get it. The best I can do is an invitation and then sit down. So I mean, that's it. It's kind of weird to say that, like, here's what you do, and that's about it. I don't have anything more. The best I can do is there's 3 things that you can pray That's it. I can give you things to pray, and that'll be helpful, and so that's what I'll do. But this is something that's beyond me. This is a mystery, an exchange, a beautiful exchange of our burdens for Christ's rest. But if you're like me, then you're like, okay, well, at least give me something, 3 things to write down. And so here they go. Something you could pray when you come to Jesus is pray that he would renew your mind. For me, it's pretty obvious. I have a pretty messed up view of God as some sort of angry grandfather, and my mind needs to be renewed. That image has to be scrubbed out of my mind so I can go before him and trust that he is indeed going to give me that rest. And so renewal. Romans 12. Don't conform to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That'll help you open yourself to that exchange. The second thing is pray that God would restore what's been lost. Thinking my time at Biola, I've lost a sense of excitement. I find myself becoming increasingly cynical and skeptical. Like 2 weeks ago, one of my sisters, she came down for a wedding and we were able to visit, and we're really close. And so we were just catching up, and it got to this point where I just kind of confessed to her, like, hey, Nikki, like, this is weird. I'm not trying to do this, but I have such a condescending attitude toward the freshmen. And she's like, oh, well, what's that about? I'm like, well, they walk around and they look kind of lost. They all got their little lanyards. And this next part is the worst part. I literally said to her, they walk around and they have so much hope in their eyes, and it's the worst. We laughed about that one. We did, but afterward, I thought, I was like, oh, it's kind of funny, but really, it's sad more than anything. And I'd try to make myself feel better by saying, oh, it's just because I'm older than them, whole 2 years. I'm older than them. I know what it's like here at Biola. I'm more mature. I'm more wise. But that's a load of crap, too. I mean, me looking down on someone because they carry joy with them, and looking down on people because they're excited to be here at school, that's not me being wise. That's just me being a jerk. It's me being hard-hearted. And if I go even deeper, I realize I'm like that because I'm jealous. I see in them something that I used to have. I even pulled out my ID card with my freshman year picture. I said, hey, see that hope? And we laughed about it, because I had it too. But I don't anymore. I don't know where I lost it. It may have been 4 weeks in the second semester. It might have been before that, though, to be honest. I see that in the freshmen, and I'm become painfully aware of what I've lost. And so, freshmen, I'm sorry for the way I've had these thoughts towards you. If you want to use a tray in the calf and wear your lanyards, go for it. Also, if you want to hang out with your SOS groups for the rest of the year, your leaders worked so hard, they would honestly love that. Don't let jerks like me make you feel bad for that, okay? All right, let's try to land this plane and get you guys out on time. You might be thinking, why are they talking about this on week 3? If you guys are like just feeling the crunch, I'm really sorry. We hope that's not where you guys are at. We hope that it's week 3, that you guys are still kind of getting into the groove of things and catching up with friends. Because usually we try to talk about things that you're going through right now. That's what After Dark wants to do for you guys. But tonight, we didn't want to give you guys some sort of Band-Aid. We don't want to wait until the middle semester when you are feeling this, when that desire for rest is so much closer. It's dear to your heart. You just long for it. This isn't supposed to be some sort of Band-Aid. It's supposed to be a pattern of living. So when you get to that point, you already know what to do. In season, out of season, when you're busy, when you're not busy, Jesus' invitation to draw near to him is always there. And we wanted you guys to see that. We wanted you to see the heart of God and take him up on it. And tonight we're going to have a special way of coming to Jesus. We're going to do communion. It's not to say that you can't do it apart from communion. It's just, like I said, it's special. So there's something about having the bread and the grape juice. It's physical. You're reminded of it. It's a very unique way in which you can draw near to the Lord, and your experience with that may fall in a different range. You may think, hey, this is awesome. I always feel just the presence of the Lord when we do communion, and you're just going to dig it. For other people, it's just going to be eating bread dipped in grape juice, and that's it. You're not going to feel the presence of the Lord. Hey, if that's where you are, then that's where I am too, to be honest. I don't really remember the last time communion's been this awesome thing. But I keep doing it because of sheer obedience, for one. But also because I know that when I draw near to the Lord, whether I feel like I'm there or not, the truth is I am near. And it takes time. It's a process to feel near to God. And that's why it says, learn from me. It's not going to happen instantly. And so if that's where you are in kind of a dry season, don't be discouraged. Just be honest with God. Say, hey, I'm going to do this communion thing. It may or may not be kind of epic. Probably won't be if the past has been a indication. But I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to take you up on your offer. And that is just as pleasing to God as people who are, running to get there because they're so excited. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I know you probably know me a lot better than you ever cared to. But for the sake of being able to identify with you guys, making you feel like you're not alone, that is completely worth it to me.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.